The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 is called to order at 8:23 p.m. We've already had silent meditation. We've already had the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call? Here.
Present.
Here. Thank you very much. Now we're down to approval of the agenda. This is the time right now if you guys want to add or delete anything from the agenda itself. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Do I have any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Urbom. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Councilperson Perella. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Next is agenda passes. Motion to approve the agenda passes. Next is the approval of the minutes. I think I wrote to you guys in the email about the minutes. I'm gonna try to do the same thing that I think Vice Mayor Urbom did and try to have to go through full moon to go back to the old and get those like that from full moon. So we'll have those next time. So there's no minutes to approve. Do I have a motion to table the minutes till the next committee meeting?
I'll make the motion to table the minutes to the next committee meeting.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Urbom. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Councilperson Perella. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no nays. So the minutes are tabled to the next committee meeting. Right now we have any visitors or special presentations. I see no visitors or special presentations. Right now we have good and welfare. This is the time right now if anybody wants to come up and say anything at all about this particular agenda, anything that they see on this particular agenda they have any questions about, they can come up and talk right now. Remember that as I go through the agenda, I will also give you chances to speak, and we'll have another good and welfare at the end to talk about anything that you guys want to talk about at all. Do we have anybody for this agenda for good and welfare? I'm seeing none. Moving right along. First agenda item, you guys, the village financial status and update. This is the CFO, Mr. Wallace. Take it away. We'll have you just highlight anything that is abnormal, and then we'll go through, and if the committee has any questions, then they can highlight certain things that they might have questions about. But first, we'll have you highlight anything that you feel like we should be looking at as far as standing out, so we don't have to spend the time going through the whole entire thing.
Thank you. Good evening. Chris Wallace, Interim Finance Officer, Chief Financial Officer for the village. This report is essentially for the first 3 months of the fiscal year. Not a lot to report, really. The big revenue sources for property taxes and the solid waste assessments, which are a charge for service, all of which are billed on your property tax bills. These are coming in as you would expect. We don't expect to see any problems with property tax collections or solid waste collections. The rest of the revenues, franchise and utility taxes, which are mostly levied against electric bills, look good. All the revenues look good. I think you are making progress on getting reimbursed for Hurricane Irma, so that's looking a bit more positive. None of that's been posted yet. Until we actually get it, we're not going to post it, but I think that's starting to shape up a little bit better, which will obviously be a big relief if it comes through, because it's always been an albatross around us. Expenditures are in line with what we would expect. Salaries, which are composed of the biggest expenses in most of the departments, are right where they belong, so we have nothing to worry about there. And I mean, it's really kind of an uneventful quarter, but the first 3 months, the only really good news is something that didn't happen, which thankfully was no hurricanes that caused you any grief. You know, that's from October to the first part of December is a busy hurricane portion, and it would have been tough if that had occurred. So you got some breathing room there, and nothing out of the ordinary has occurred to my knowledge. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any particular questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. I appreciate it. First of all, let me say, let me echo what you were saying as far as the FEMA, the Irma money and the FEMA appeal. I mean, and I know Mr. Wallace, you've been on some of those emails, but you know, big shout out to the village manager, Attorney Geller. And I have it all logged because one day I'm gonna say it, Madam Manager. I have it all logged down, but I'm talking about every week, you guys. We have had every week, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Manager, or if I'm exaggerating. Every week, we have probably had 2 to 3 meetings per week that were about at least 2 hours long. With the FEMA people, with the state of Florida, with the disaster relief, with the, and I'm talking about, and these aren't, and I'm talking about, these meetings are heated, detail by detail, constantly. And it's been wild. And we've had to, and straighten people out. Christia's had to straighten people out. Combative meetings to fight for this money. Just did the appeal. I have so many emails. Christia's had so many emails come in today. The appeal we just submitted on Friday. We had to submit it by Friday. Last week was so hectic. I'm just gonna leave it like that. And the week before, and for the past like month. It's been a roller coaster. It's been a run, but we worked so hard. So hopefully that money, and I think, Mr. Wallace, what you're saying about that money, and me and Christia were saying last week, as soon as we went through all those weeks and we submitted that appeal, Christia looked at me and she said, "You know what?" She said, "I feel good." She said, "I feel good." I said, "I feel good." I said, "I feel pretty good too." She said, "I feel good." She said, "We worked hard," and she said, "I feel good." So I hope everything comes back through. Mr. Wallace, and I'll get to you, Vice Mayor and Councilperson, for your questions in a second. Just let me point out a couple of things. If you look at what was it? And I think I know the answer to this. I'm pretty sure I do. The first one I was looking at was the village clerk section of the budget. And I think this is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is because of the special election. But we have our advertisements already up past 88%.
Well, that's.
That has to be because of the
Yeah,
special election
that's exactly
advertisement.
right, yes.
Yeah, that has to be because of the special election advertisement. I was also looking at, and public affairs looks so sad. It's like all 0, 0, but we're gonna get our love for public affairs. I was like, man, look at public affairs. Now we're gonna get back. It's no. I mean, that's COVID's fault, right? That makes it all. I just never seen it look like that. All zeros. It's really weird to see that public affairs house everything's 0%, but because we haven't spent any. But I think the other thing was public safety. If you look at public safety, we have, I think it was overtime, and we're already at 75%. And so I'm kind of concerned about that. And what would be incentive pay, which is at 72%?
Yeah, that throughout the year is a little bit unequal, but most of that is money that you get back from the state.
Okay.
For, mostly, say, educational attainment by police officers.
Okay.
I can drill down into that if you want and get back to you. But I'm
Yeah,
pretty
if
sure
you
that's
if
what
you
it
can,
is.
because I'm just really concerned. Like we're, we're going to be over budget, and that kind of concerns me.
Well, I would just note that sometimes it's we may have guessed wrong because of past practice,
Okay.
and then maybe you have more people eligible. I don't know.
I
but
got you.
That should tie back really to the money you get from the state as well.
I got
So
you.
the state pretty much pays for almost all of that.
And if we could, and this might be a question for Madam Manager, but I know you won't have the answer right now, Madam Manager. But if Mr. Wallace or Madam Manager, you guys could look into that overtime, that's already at 75%. So we're already over budgeted for that. And I'm wondering,
Can I address?
of course.
Due to some of our staff being out because of
Yes,
COVID.
COVID, yes. So we have had to have overtime.
Fill in, and that's how
Absolutely.
we fill in.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been keeping me abreast of that. We have had a significant number. It's not plenty, but we've had a significant number of officers that continuously have to go out for COVID because of COVID, testing positive for COVID. So we had to cover their shifts. So that's where the overtime comes. I mean, hopefully how are we looking with those CARES Act dollars? Those CARES Act, you guys, is what comes from like the government.
I believe you'll
to try to
get
help.
your money this month.
Okay. help us out a little bit on that. I mean, we don't have to, the other current charges is at 88%, and what's at 98%? That might have been under budgeted. The memberships at 98%. So are we doing like some type of, like education or membership? See, the chief is not here, so you guys might not know. Are we doing some type of education or membership or some type of certification classes or something that we weren't doing last year that has us already at 98% for memberships?
Honestly, I'll have to look
Yeah, you
that
have
one
to-
up for you, but I think it's,
That could be true, and also know that I've been getting a lot of certificates of completion
Okay,
for the chief and for other members.
so maybe that was under budgeted.
That because there's not as much activity, they're able to do some trainings and get those done.
Okay, maybe that was under budgeted.
And also the incentive pay is at 72.6%, or so, what is that?
yeah, that's what the mayor was discussing, and I told him I'd get back to you guys on that as far as.
And he said we get something back from the,
But yeah, it's paid for by the state.
It's paid for by the state.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's paid for by the state. So we'll have to ask the chief about the memberships, because we're definitely gonna go over budget when it comes to that, unless they just pause there for the rest of the year, because we're already at 98%. There wasn't really much else that stuck out. I mean, we have a couple things that, they're already over 50%, and we're not even at half mid-year yet, but I'll address those just for sake of time. I'll address those another time. Everything else is pretty much 2030. That kind of looked good. What else? We did have, and I think this is because of COVID testing, COVID cleaning, correct me if I'm wrong, but under Public Works, we have Pest Control. I mean, do we just have like more rats and roaches, or is that like we have to do the deep cleaning because of COVID, so it's at 63%? Pest Control, is that the deep cleaning because of COVID, or is that pests like rats and roaches?
Well, I think it's the latter of,
Really?
yeah, not COVID related.
Did we not budget it right from last year? I mean, shouldn't it be pretty consistent from last year, or?
Well, I think it would be, but it may be something that you just pay periodically, not every month. But I'll have to get back to you, because honestly, those small amounts I don't really focus on.
No, I see. No, I understand what you're saying, because it's only 200. Yeah, it's only $265, but it is 63% already, used for the year.
Yeah, and I apologize, because this never happens, but my computer has frozen.
Yeah, pest control, I believe is more, is more like fumigation, stuff like that around the village, is that it? And they come like, what, every 3-4 months?
But I'm just.
Because it's already at 63%, exactly, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, because we're not even at mid-year budget yet. So I'm
Right.
just thinking that, because I would think that it would be consistent every year, because unless we have an influx of more roaches or
Right.
rats or something like that, it would probably be like the same contract year in, year out.
Mhm.
So I don't know why we were under budget for that. So we have to figure out what's going on with that. We do have the repairs, maintenance. I mean,
Very many, so it's a little.
repairs, maintenance. That could be. I mean, the truck has been. I mean, we need a new vehicle. So I'm pretty sure that probably has to do with that, because one's vehicles. Vehicles is
And
vehicles is NA.
And what is it reflecting, because about the car allowances for the public work? What is that being reflected? Is that something that came out of some other funds, or?
Well, no, well, sort of. I mean, I believe it's probably being charged to the salaries until the truck comes in. We have not yet ordered the truck. I expect that to go out on Thursday as far as a purchase order. There was a long lead time for that, and we tried to find something local that met the bid specifications, that wasn't more expensive from what the commission had already approved, but we couldn't. So it's mostly gonna come out of other funds. Part of that's paid for out of the general fund, part of it's paid for out of the transportation fund. It's a 60-40 split, if I recall correctly.
So from the transportation funds can be used for car allowances for the public
Yes.
work?
Right, and their salaries. You may recall during the budget, we did.
Yeah, the gas,
portion,
yeah, right.
I mean, that's Vice Mayor Urban. I don't know. That's all for me. So I just need. Can we make sure that especially for that memberships for for the, make sure we get in touch with the chief and see what, you know, if they've had, you know, an influx or if they're doing a lot more certifications or stuff this year than over last year.
Hi, Mr. Wallace, how you doing? Thanks for waiting patiently through public affairs and sticking with us tonight. Let's see, I just had a question about, let me see if I can get the department right here. In public safety, other current charges, I was just curious, it had a budget of 5,000 saying already spent 4,400. Item is listed as other current charges.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know what's going on with my computer, it never
Oh, okay,
freezes.
okay.
I'll have to, on those details, I think probably for the next time you have this in a couple of months, I'm gonna just print out all the account details so I can be maybe better prepared if we're gonna go into that kind of detail. Because there's, you know, obviously hundreds of charges that go into all these accounts over the course of 3 or 4 months.
Okay, I just don't know if there was a,
And, yeah, some things that are still going on is, you know, they may be posted to the wrong period too. Some of these may actually be charges that should be posted to last fiscal year, so we haven't gotten to that part yet.
okay, fair enough. And then, this might be for,
And that, I'm sorry, that was in the police department.
that
right?
was in, yeah, that was in public safety for other current charges. And I'm trying to, there was really only, everything seemed to kind of make sense, you know, for what I was looking at. And my other question is actually kind of another, just detailed question, almost for my own benefit of understanding. And I'm trying to, it was copies. I'm trying to find the, we had a category of copies that was,
I was on revenues.
yeah, it was like,
Yeah, I suspect on that one, because it's way over and it obviously wasn't copies. When I ran the report, you know, I think it's probably something that's been posted to the wrong account number.
okay,
And we'll have to correct it,
okay,
because I don't think you generate that kind of money on copies ever.
okay.
It's a little bit difficult to trace that back without getting into the weeds, so I just kind of put it off to the side until I had, you know, 20 or 30 minutes to go pull it and see what was
Okay.
actually happening with it.
And then, if we are anticipating, news, from FEMA, you may not have these numbers in front of you, but for March at least, is it possible to kind of get, for the committee's benefit, a kind of, final tally on, our current balance, with the loan and accrued totality of what we've paid out, like in interest? I imagine that's part of what the negotiations are with FEMA, et cetera, but if we could just get those concrete numbers, so that,
I'll
we
have
could-
you, yeah, everything you've paid back is interest. You've not
Right.
reduced any principal.
okay, all right, so that makes it easier to figure out then.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's one of the reasons the bank today was very quick on giving us some backup information was.
They would like to see,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
sure.
takes a little bit of risk away from them.
right,
But so all that money we get in pays that off, and hopefully you'll have a little bit extra to
okay.
replenish your fund
Well,
balance
because
as well.
what I anticipate happening is, you know, whatever money we do get back, essentially every dollar of that will have to go towards the debt, right, which is a good
Well,
thing.
you have a
Right.
bond that requires that.
So, but I anticipate there's gonna be some need for explanation of either why there's still a debt remaining based on what FEMA says, right? Or, you know, ultimately for the benefit of the residents so that they can have a very clear understanding of, okay, you know, cause your average resident just wants to see the, you know, black and white
Sure.
out versus in, and just to know where we stand. So, if it would be possible just in March to be able to kind of present to that, say, okay, here's what it cost you to take out that loan for the life of the loan so far. By then, I would imagine we'll have some kind of an answer from FEMA. Here's what you're gonna, you know, here's what you're gonna get back, and here's where we stand now. If we could have just that in as clear a picture as possible for
I'll
March.
have it on a one page.
Okay.
It should be very straightforward.
All right, I think that's gonna be the one thing that residents are just gonna wanna be able to have this most straightforward possible answer they can possibly get out of that scenario, so. But everything, I mean, honestly, I remember you know, we went over this thing with a fine tooth comb for sure the last time we met, so, things seem to be, I agree, looking like they're on pace and no real surprises, so thank you again for your continued, expertise and assistance with us, because,
Well, on the FEMA thing, I really can't take credit. That would go all to the manager and, you know.
no, I mean, but I mean, and just what your task is, you know, I understand you're just doing your job, but it is also very helpful, so just
All right,
want to say,
well,
I just want to
thank
say
you.
thank you.
If I could just step back, regarding the FEMA from, you know, what I've seen, I really am a little perplexed as to why. I mean, I get the history of it.
Right.
But, and working with FEMA, even in the best of situations, can be aggravating. But I really don't see what the big deal was. I mean, I'm looking over documentation and stuff, and most of this seems like it could have been resolved by them months ago. And so I don't get it either, but
Yeah.
hopefully, you know, it'll just all be a bad dream.
You got it. You got it. I'll be having rum. I don't know what you guys will be drinking, but I will have rum.
That sounds good, Vice Mayor
All right.
Irvine. Vice Mayor Irvine, you good?
I'm good.
Council President, you good? All right, I'm pretty good. I just want to say really quickly though, you know, I have the, you know, the policies and procedures thing that I put on here, which we'll get to pretty soon. But Mr. Wallace, I did want to say this. And you know, you guys know how I am. You know, I'm pretty, you know, I'm nice and whatever when it comes to everything. But we need to. I just want to say, you know, when we have these meetings, like we need this information earlier. You know, the manager sent the email this morning saying, you know, hey, you guys, here's the budget, right? But like, and then she, you know, she sends it to us, and she sends it to the clerk to either email blast it or post it, right? But then, like you're making like us look bad, right? Because then the residents get it today, and they're like, oh, like look at, you know, ever since, you know, look at Mayor Omar, like, you know, he's posted, like he's sending things out the day of the meeting. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, things are slipping away already. Like, you know, like, 'cause you know, that's just how it happens. And you know, I know the manager's been asking for this, you know. So, and I mean no disrespect towards you, but we have to have this stuff in earlier. Like, we have to have this stuff in before the weekend. You know what I mean? Because not only just for that purpose, but we have to have it in before the weekend so that we can look at it, and then we can ask you questions. You know, we can send you emails so that you can get this information, and just know also that going forward, you know, if you do see something like, you know, that's 80, you know, 98% or something like that, like we're probably going to ask about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if you see something like that, you might want to give a call to the chief and say, hey, chief, what is this memberships about? You know?
I hear you loud and clear. Some of that I actually did pick up and actually resolved while we were doing the report. And the manager was on me. Two things happened. One, I lost track of when this meeting was, but I still could have gotten the report out and intended to by last Friday. But in preparing the report, there were a number of issues that some of it are just because the first report of a fiscal year, there are things that need to be done. We changed account names and added some account numbers that haven't been used yet. And, you know, I just took the time to try to add all those things. A lot of the payroll numbers I had to go back because we had made some errors in posting, so I had to correct those. And going forward, I won't have that. But yes, I will have that. You have my commitment for the next report. I've already added to my calendar, you know, every 2 months where it's anticipated we have these meetings. I didn't have it on my calendar for this month, and it just, you know, it caught up with me. So I don't expect to have any surprises going forward with that, and I will do a better job for you, I promise.
I appreciate it, because it's very important, because these committee meetings are every other month. So it would be different if you were coming to the next council meeting with the answers, it'd be different. But if you're not coming to the next committee meeting, like, we have to wait another, you know, and then we're gonna be into like mid-year budget, and we're gonna have things like 125%.
Well,
You know, we're gonna be like, how did we get here? Because,
Well,
you know, so we have to have these answers as quickly as possible.
Well, what we can also do, I mean, committee's meeting one thing, but we can print out or push out monthly budget reports like this, so you can have them in between meetings. And that way you can ask questions before that. There's no reason you have to wait 2 months.
If you can do that for us, please.
All right, we'll do
so that-
monthly and submit that, distribute it to the elected body and the departments.
That's perfect.
And, you know, I mean, I kind of looked at
Well,
it.
Madam Manager's writing it down now, so when she contacts you, you gotta give it to her. Now, don't be waiting.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to clean up the accounting system as we go along and
Yeah, I
come
know.
across issues, and otherwise, they just always just kind of perpetuate themselves and create problems, but we're making progress with it. But yeah, this one, I was, Thursday, I said I would do it, and then I realized Friday I'd have to go into my office and work with the people to correct some payroll, and we did that. And then over the weekend, it was like, oh my God. So I spent a good part of Saturday and Sunday working from home, fixing the accounting system so that, because this report is actually just a spreadsheet to make it easier to follow. But I've hopefully tied up all the things, because there were even some little things like in the past you've suggested changes to words and stuff like that, so I wanted to make sure none of that really, I wanted to make sure it tied to the budget, the phrases and words that we used there, so when you looked back, you would do it, and I needed to fix that into the accounting system, so I don't have to keep doing that every month. There's just a lot of tedium to that, and I had misgauged the amount of effort that I had put to it, and I started it late, obviously, to begin with, so I apologize for that, but you won't see it in the future, hopefully.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Irvine, you good? Councilperson Ferrella, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Anybody from the audience have any questions for the CFO before he leaves? We good? Okay. Madam Manager, anything that you want to add for the CFO before we leave? You good?
No, but I'm looking at the tracking report, and I just want to go through, we talked about doing a mid-year budget review for the March meeting, or in March. So, you know, what, just so we can start preparing, what will you be presenting, or what can we present to council for mid-year budget?
Well, I think two things. I think I think during the year, you always present what's actually happening. But then I think what you're anticipating is, okay, it's mid-year, how's that gonna look towards the end of the year? So you would do a forecast. So if you're wanting me to do a forecast, mid-year, we could probably get a good handle on it. Right, the earlier you do a forecast, the less likely it is to be accurate. So mid-year, we'll have roughly 50% of the activity. And we'll know historically what would happen. Hopefully the FEMA stuff will be a thing, and we would be able to look forward and forecast. And do that again, say, the end of June while we're doing the budget as well for fiscal year '22. So if that's what you're wanting, I mean, that's pretty common to do a forecast at mid-year to the end of the year to see where you're gonna wind up. And if that's what you're wanting, that's what we'll do.
I mean, that would be, yeah, we could do that. That would be helpful. I mean, the thing about it is that because from the percentages that we see, which we appreciate that the percentages are accurate, from the percentages that we see, we kind of know what's going on, right? As far as the forecast, the problem is that as far as the forecast, that's helpful, but you would have to talk to the individuals in each individual department to know what's coming up
Oh, yeah,
in their
yeah.
department.
Right.
I mean, we could talk to, you know, we could have the chief here and be like, hey, chief, like, so this is such and such percent. Why is it like this? And the chief could tell us, oh, because we have this coming up, or every year the police have to certify in this, or, you know, so, I mean, I don't want you to have to run around and chase everybody to put that together. We can ask them. We
Well-
just need to,
Honestly, when I do a forecast, I would meet with them and, you know, understand why, because you're always gonna have budget changes. Things will go over budget, under budget, and you need to adjust them. Things will happen that you didn't anticipate when you did the budget. And that's why you go through this process.
so
And
yeah, if
said-
you could have all that, because we have it all in one place, if you could do that also, and then we'll also have the the stuff with the percentages, and then at that mid-year review, we'll have the department heads from every area there to answer those questions at that particular time also. So we can have all that in front of us. That'd be perfect.
All right, so as a suggestion, rather than have a bunch of paper floating around, I'll take this format, I'll expand upon it by adding a couple of columns and maybe some comments along the way. And that way you'll have it all in one place. So you see where you are on the budget, you'll have a forecast, and if there's any editorial comments that we feel will help you understand it, we'll add those as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else for the CFO before he leaves? All right, Mr. Wallace, have a safe drive home, man.
Well, thank you. I'm just making it.
No,
up,
of
so I
course.
forget.
Take your time. I'm just saying, have a safe drive home because I'm about to move on to the next thing. So I didn't want to lose the time to thank you and tell you have a great evening. All right, you guys. So we're going to move on to H2. This is the possible Cavista development fee adjustment options. Okay, so I put this on here because this is something right here that you guys know I've kind of been on this. This is not something that, of course, you guys know this is committee. This is not something that if we, I want to pass it to full council, but this is not something that we pass to full council. At the full council, we can decide because it takes ordinance. We have to do ordinance. So it'd be two, at the very least, 2 council meetings. So I do want to pass it to full council to have a deeper discussion about it. And then, and like I said, it would take at least 2 council meetings, or it would take 2 council meetings because we would have to do this by ordinance. So I'm just going to reiterate what I said last time at a committee meeting. This kind of came up. So the Cavista development fees, basically the way they worked is that because of the Cavista development that's being built, because of the Cavista development that's being built, they're adding more concrete to our neighborhood, basically. And so since they're building up and adding those floors, in order to kind of fit what the vision of El Portal is as far as development fees, we want to keep El Portal as green as possible, for more or less. So being that's the case, because of what they're building, you guys, they were going to go and spend the money to develop green spaces to offset the height of the building, the concrete is being added to our community, essentially. Okay? To put this all in layman's terms. So being that's the case, El Portal is so small, we don't have the green space. We don't have a flyer or something, I don't know. We don't have the green space that for them to be able to develop that green space. In El Portal, we just don't have the space, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay? So what they did was, since we didn't have the space, they said, okay, what we'll do is we'll give you the money that is equal to what the green space would be if you guys had the space in El Portal for us to develop the green space for you. What that was it was $800,000. It was the equivalent of $800,000. Okay? They gave us $1.1 million. So they gave us even over what development fees would be. All right? We have a police department that is in dire need. We have code enforcement vehicle, public works vehicle, you guys. We have a contingency, which is our reserves of like $40-something thousand as a government. What I want to do, and what I think is good for El Portal, not only, and it's not only that either, we also have, you guys, myself and the village manager are in on these text messages and emails at all times about robberies, about shootings, these things that are happening at nighttime. I mean, shouldn't say this on the record, but you guys know how many police officers we have at nighttime. Like, we need at least one more police officer we need to hire for nighttime. We don't have, you guys, that much real estate to be developed. So we were lucky, we were blessed, thanks to village manager and negotiation and things like that. We were blessed that not only did they give us the 800,000, but they gave us over. So I want us to look at it like this. This is what I'm asking from you guys to move it to full council. Well, I want us to look at it like this. If they would have just simply gave us the 800,000, which would be the development fees equivalent, fine. We might not even, maybe we wouldn't even be able to we wouldn't be having this discussion. So even if we pretend they just gave us the 800,000, which is what it would be, right?
Well, which, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Go
but
ahead.
it's still, $1.1 million wasn't enough for what they're building, and whatever we allow them to do, which was the additional 2 floors,
Yeah.
adding that many units.
Yeah.
So they're only getting,
I
they got more benefits than what we get with $1.1 million.
But according to the development agreement, right? So even if they,
Because, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
because to the amount of units they adding and the amount of people that will be living there, which is, I assume is gonna be over 600 people, I agreed 100% that we needed an extra police officer.
police officers.
And I will use, there's no doubt, we should use some of that money to add that police officers that we need.
So
Period.
I don't
I mean,
even want
it's-
to. What I'm trying to do, you guys, I'm trying to cut it down the middle and be fair to both sides. To where I'm trying to say, the 800,000 that would be the development agreement, I don't even want to touch. You guys can keep it there. Now, in a perfect world, I think that I would love to take like 100,000 of that also to put into reserves, because we have 40. Our savings is $48,000, you guys, as a government, not as an individual, not as a family, as a government. $48,000 is our savings for any emergency or anything that comes up. My suggestion is that we take what's over the $800,000, which would be $300,000, and we put that in our reserves. And we put that in our reserves, and then we decide as a council, and the other two will be up here also, we decide as a council, how much comes out for the enterprise fleet, right? For the police officer fleet. How much, comes out for the code enforcement. We don't even have to worry about, the public works, because that's done already. The code enforcement car, to hire an extra police officer for nighttime.
Well, actually, I don't know if we should, because as I was reading the contract, because I came in very late in the game when Cavista was happening and all of that to the council, and is that is based on construction of the site plan of the, and so we do not for sure 100% if it's gonna happen. If at the middle of the construction they're gonna say, they declare bankruptcy or whatever, and for some reason Cavista will never happen. So we wouldn't get that $1.1 million. We only get up to whatever, the construction was, which is, we just have 300 something now. And then after permits, and we'll get the other percentage. And then, as the project goes along, then we get the rest of the money. So,
I
to
understand.
determine whether, we do like 700 here and 300 there, we don't have the full amount until we actually, probably a year or two.
I understand. Well, but, all right, so.
But right now, for what, I'm sorry, and
No,
right
go
now
ahead.
for what we have, $333,000? Right. I agree, we can actually move $100,000 to the general funds for emergency or.
I was just gonna say that.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a great
that'll be
idea.
fine,
So if
two
we're-
hundred and thirty,
Yeah.
333,000, still a fair amount that we can hold on to.
I was
And
just
then
gonna say
as
that.
the money comes along, then we decide, but I agree 100%, there's many things that we can do not to waste the money, but
Not to waste the money.
wisely use it and put it in good use.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that because you guys, we like I said before, we're not gonna have many opportunities like this.
And
Because El Portal is only so big, we're not gonna have that many people develop in El Portal.
And you said it. I mean, before we had the opportunity for real estate, but now houses are selling from over $850,000, $1 million in El Portal. So, yeah, well, you can buy a house probably for $400,000, $500,000, but most of them are selling for over $800,000. So where are we gonna buy land to then become a landlord, to become a liability, to, create a park and then maintain it? We just don't have the resources right now. So, yeah.
So I was gonna say that, and we were in the same wavelength when it came to that, Councilperson Perella, because as a compromise, I would say, okay, if we're getting this money in steps, all right, we already got the first 300,000. Let's take 100,000 away from that. Let's take the next 100,000 away from the next step, and then the last 100,000 away from the last step. It'll end up the same way at the end. It'll still be the $800,000 for development fees and the $300,000 that we put in the general fund or the reserves for the village. I will say this also. I remember last time Vice Mayor Urbom, and Vice Mayor, I'm gonna let you speak in a second. I remember last time Vice Mayor Urbom brought up. He said, if we can't replace it eventually, I'd be uncomfortable. Well, eventually we're gonna start to get, once this is built, we start to get yearly taxes, which we looked at it at how much was it?
Over 200,000 annually once it's built. because
You see what I mean? So
tax revenue that will be generated.
How much, I'm sorry?
over
Over
2,000
200,000.
annually.
Wow,
So we can
that's great.
decide once that comes into, put it back, but put it back in the development, and for development fees, we can decide to do that. But still, that being the case, I just wanted to let it be known, I'm not taking anything away from the development fees themselves. I'm just taking what the overage is. Vice Mayor Urbom.
Okay, so, the 800 that you're talking about is essentially, it's 3 phases, right? The first phase began, which is why we have
It's four, I think.
It's
They
4.
divided it in 4.
That's why it's not 366,000, that's
Right.
why it's 333,000.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
so the next installment will be the same 333,000?
Right,
Yes.
The third will
same.
be the same 300, and then there's a fourth small one at the end, is that right?
Yeah, like once the certificate of occupancy is.
Certificate of occupancy, we get the final last little,
Little bit.
okay. So, so I have it as, I gotta adjust because I had it as 366, but we were talking 333 on the first installment, which we are in possession of, correct? The first installment we're in possession of,
We
yes.
already had that.
Okay. All right, so 2/3. Lucky number 66, the next time we get the installment. All right, so, Mayor, you're saying that with those 3 installments of essentially 333 each, you're saying take 100,000 out of each one of those and move it to the general so that we can solve the crisis of our fleet situation and have a little bit as reserves in the event of emergency, et cetera, right? Especially as we head into hurricane season, I imagine. All right, that is a very sound plan. I don't disagree with the logic of the plan. It's a very sound plan. I would again just say, kind of what I said last time in terms of remembering that the little farm can design their way out of having to pay us fees. The sanctuary probably has enough green space already, and I actually do think that building, whoever takes it, will remain. I think that whoever takes it was going to refurbish that building. I could be entirely wrong, but the point being that there's enough land there that you can design your way out of having to pay development fees on that property as well. So I really do see this as our only chicken worth counting and then just like Councilperson Perella said, there's 4 eggs here, and we only count 1 chicken so far, right? And so, I don't know if it's from Kansas or not, but there you go. I got lots of, I know my chickens is another thing I say all the time, so. All right, so in that, you know, if this, let's say that this is our one, you know, true opportunity to have this feed, right? I just feel strongly that there should either be a, as it stands, in terms of money allocated to parks, green spaces, and the maintenance of, right? I feel strongly that there should be, if we do this, then there should be language to both have a plan of replenishment and a limit on how much could be taken in any given year. You understand? I think that there should be a limit on how much you can pull from that fund, as well as a plan to replenish it. So, because you know, this past hurricane season, we had 3 storms that essentially formed on top of us, and that was what saved us, was that the storm formed on top of us, that it didn't have a day or 2 to build before it hit us, right? And so, you know, we had consequences of that, but we didn't have storm damage like we could have had if it had formed a couple 100 miles out and had 2 days to gain some, you know, strength, right? So it is conceivable, based on this past hurricane season, we could get 3 storms in a year. There might be a reason to pull all of the money, you know, at another year. We could easily have a situation where, you know, 2 storms put such a hurt on us. And some, for me, I'm thinking in 15 years, 16 years, we're going to have the 100-year anniversary of El Portal, you know. So I'm thinking, like, in 15 years, is this money is enough of a nest egg that it should still be working for us in 15 years. And I think that if we're not careful, we're going to create a situation which allows it to disappear much earlier than that. The 100,000 needed for the fleets, right? The 200,000 needed to you know, feel good about where we're at in reserves. You know, that's only, you know, a third of the whole nest egg, right? But that's just what we feel our emergency needs are in this year. We have no idea what's coming in the future years. So you know, I'm not against working this plan that you're laying out. I do think it's logical and it makes sense, and it's a good solution to huge problems that we have, right? So there's not very many arguments I have against it, right? Where I become very cautionary is, do we have a limit on how much this fund can be drained, right, at a time? And do we have a plan to replenish it? So those are my really only 2 concerns in this whole plan.
Well, we remember, and thank you for that, Vice Mayor Urban. Remember that right now, like the 300,000, we can't use any of it.
Right.
So all we have to do is make it so that 800,000, we can't use it for anything.
Right.
The same, like, we just have to do the same thing we have to do now. We just have to do it for 800,000 instead of 1.1 million. That's the only difference. So the money won't just continue to disappear because we'll just.
Without having 800,000 in that account, do we have the ability to touch this first 333 at all?
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
So he's saying that the requirement of the fund essentially is 800,000, right? Or the
No, that was what was presented to us, and then they came back. From what I recall, we had a conversation. The manager and I, you know, she didn't study and some sort of like appraisals and stuff like that. She came back with $3 million, and they came back with $1.1 million. That's how we got the 1.1. It was a negotiation.
Mm-hmm. It was negotiation.
So what Cavista has stipulated was 800,000. But it's not like by, you know, it was nothing by.
Okay, so then that fund is not yet funded to the tune of 800,000. Can we touch any of it at all anyway?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And parks and stuff,
we-
which we've been doing with Miami, trying to do, you know, to get a master plan to
yeah.
then
Yeah.
refurbish the parks and all of that, which is very costly. I didn't think it was gonna be that much. I'm like, I'm not gonna spend, you know, I don't see spending $30,000 in, you know, on a park doing renovations. It is a little costly, and
We gotta be careful with all that stuff anyway, because if we have septic to sewer and stormwater on you know, we probably don't wanna redesign anything until that work is done.
And again, it hasn't been done because the trailer, the little trailer park, right? What is it? The nature trail park. We found some issues with the, you know, like the property and being, you know, deeded or not. So we can, that's why we hold on to that. But we're entitled to use that money to start doing the renovations in the parks. It's just that, you know, it hasn't been, you know, happening because of that. So, but.
Okay, and then the other thing I'll say is that in my discussions with Robert Ruano, as I've become the chair of the tree board, is, you know, he is very clear in saying that because of the forecast for governmental budget difficulties, right, the echoes of what we're experiencing right now are going to continue for several years in terms of funding shortages, right? It's going to take a while for all that to catch up. So as long as there are funding shortages, which is the environment for the foreseeable future, any grant that we apply for is almost certainly going to be a matching grant. So we just need to keep that in mind again in terms of not depleting. And the other thing he's saying is, look, if you would have like 100,000, you know, as a line item for this money is reserved for matching grant opportunities, right? You put a line item of $100,000 in there. Let's say we're doing okay and we can do that, right? He's saying that a lot of times these matching grants will help you get to 2, 3, and even 4 times the funding on that. You can turn your 100,000 into, you know, 300, 400, even like $500,000. But you have to have that first set there to be able to take advantage of that opportunity, right? So again, that's just something to think about. Let's say a matching grant shows up for stormwater or septic to sewer in the next like 2 to 3 years, which is, I don't see either of those projects being to completion within the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but the point is that if an opportunity comes up and then something like that, if we're not careful, we're going to miss an opportunity where we would have, you know, $150,000, $200,000 that we could put to a matching grant, and all of a sudden, you know, triple our money on an effort like that, you know, because especially with septic to sewer, the flood resiliency webinar that we attended today, this is top of mind of tree board, this is top of mind of resiliency, this is top, you know, so I think that within the state government, federal government, and, you know, county governments, we are going to see opportunities for, you know, matching grants for septic to sewer on construction, right? And so I just want us to be so very cautious not to deplete this nest egg that represents access to opportunities in the future.
More so because the way that the funding is actually allocated, it cannot be used for anything. So whether if it's in the reserve, then it looks more appealing, or it looks more like clear that we are a little solid. We have money on the
Right.
reserves.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
The way it is now, it can't be used, like it's tied up.
It's tied up.
So I'm trying to untie it up to like even help out with things you're talking about right now, you know? So,
And so when we, you know, when this deal came about, I was okay with the money being tied up because that means it's more difficult to just,
Right.
you
It
know.
just have to be on the language and like
But
you
we're
said,
still gonna have, we're still gonna
very
have,
specific to what it could be used.
we're still gonna have 800,000 tied up.
So for me, in terms of the reserves, I'm thinking that the need and all of that will become very clear when we get, you know, word back from the appeal, right, from FEMA. We're going to have a very clear standing of where we're at that point, right?
Well, everything FEMA has
In
to go
terms of
straight back to the loan though.
For me, the single most critical thing that we are facing is the fleet, is the health of the fleet of the police.
And more safety at nighttime, I think.
Right. So,
Yeah, and
and
that's what,
I know that Chief has already said, hey, you know, we absolutely could use one more person. So, so those 2 items, and if we do have a schedule or an anticipation of, well, I guess they own the units until they're sold. So either way, we'll be collecting those property tax receipts. Is that right? Whether the unit has an occupant or not.
exactly,
Okay,
yes.
so we don't have to wait for them to
No,
fill
no,
the
no,
building,
not
right?
at all.
Because until the unit's filled, they own
And
it,
then
they own
from
the tax
that, that
lien.
could be the plan to replenish the funds. It could be a certain percentage of that property taxes going to, you know, to
That's what
that.
that's what we should be
Yes.
looking at, is putting that additional monies into baskets,
Mm-hmm.
obviously accounting for the cost that we're gonna incur in providing,
Yeah.
you know, what the needs are of that new
And
community.
I'm sorry, and remember, the FEMA loan, the FEMA money, we just barely gonna get to cover the loan, if anything.
Right.
But more than $700,000 were used from the
Yep.
reserve funds that we're never gonna see.
790, something
Yes.
like that, yeah, okay. All right, so, you know, again, you know, my primary risk is that the nest egg just disappears and we never have an opportunity to get another one. That's my biggest concern.
No.
The only other concern that's tied into that is, do we have any type of language or direction that's going to require us to replenish that to certain levels, you know what I mean? So, with those two things, I think it's a good solution, and we're lucky to have it, and we should solve
Yep.
those crises with that money. I don't disagree with that, but.
So let me ask this, Vice Mayor. So I'm just proposing to take over the overage. So are you saying that when let's say the tax money comes in like 200,000 every year, you want that to go back to replace the overage until we get back up to 1.1 million?
Well, no, not necessarily all of it, but like there should be an annual plan of saying, okay, you know, like 10% or 15%, or I feel like getting 20% would be getting large, right? But like a percentage of that should be allocated to that fund, right? And then once that fund is filled, then you know that can go to a different pot, but.
Fill back up to 1.1 million, you mean?
Honestly, yes.
Okay.
Honestly, yes, because, I mean, again, yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
But whatever it is, I think that between the extra revenues of the Cavista development, right, as we go into the future, I think we'll be able to fill several pots. You know, on an annual basis, I think, you know, that will solve actually a fair amount of problems.
Okay, all right, so let me just, because I'm gonna have to write this ordinance, so I just wanna make sure I have the details correct. All right, so we would take 300,000 of the 800,000, of the 1.1 million. We would leave 800,000 to be in the group for development fees to be not touched. 800,000 can't be touched, okay? Now, a lot of the stuff you were talking about, because you're talking about replenishing back up to 1.1 million, but a lot of the stuff that you would want to do with it, you wouldn't be able to use that for it, though, right?
Yeah, I mean.
You see what I'm saying?
So the two things that I'm thinking of in the future that we would, okay, these are just the two things I'm thinking that we would, and I really do think that these would be needs that will arise, and we should want to plan for and account for. One is, I do think that there's going to be a time where a property becomes available and the village thinks, man, if we could do something with that property, it would be, you know, right? I am convinced that within the next 20 years, I'm trying to think long term here, I'm convinced that at some point in the next 20 years, there is going to be a property where the village thinks we want to acquire that property.
But
The other, and specifically for additional public space for the community. I mean, that mean not just to acquire, you know,
yeah.
maybe if the structure remains, it's a community center, but there's green around it. You know what I'm saying? But I think as a park in general, though, as a public gathering space, sometime in the next 20 years, there's going to be something where the village kicks itself that they don't have what's necessary to get that. The other more realistic reality is that the private residences are most likely going to be responsible for signing on to some type of a seawall plan, right? But there's going to be the pocket at the River Estates Park or other places where if the village isn't able to participate in that larger seawall plan, then the plan doesn't work because we couldn't do our part of filling in that seawall there. So,
Do these development fees, are they able to pay? they're
I'm
not
sorry,
able to-
but again,
are
it's
they able to pay
only
for
for
some-
green space, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
if we
what
would
I'm
leave it
saying.
there.
right, but that seawall is attached to, without,
No,
okay.
I don't think
So
you can
even though
use
the
it for
survivability of the green space.
it has to be in the reserves, you know,
Okay.
for us to use.
Okay.
I think, so I
Okay.
think,
Okay.
Vice Mayor Urban, I think that what
And-
you're wanting is actually better
Reserve,
Okay,
in the reserves
In
for
the
what you're
reserves.
wanting.
okay, all right, so you might convince me to be, okay, if you're agreeable to that 800. And
I
I'll
think
say
we keep it
that's the
700,
level-
I'll say 700, lock 700,000, and then the
That was
rest,
my original
move it to the
700.
reserve.
I want,
700?
And I had it written down since March
Yeah.
when
Then
I
I'll
spoke to
move-
Mrs.
okay.
Alou,
Then
and I
I'll
was
move,
like,
then I'll move from 1.1 to 8. I'll move from 1.1 to 8.
7, I will say
You
7.
moved up 1, I moved down 3. Okay?
my original was 700.
So,
My original was 700.
I will do 7,
but
I'll feel comfortable with 700.
Okay.
just because the stuff
Yes.
you're talking about, Vice Mayor Urban, I totally agree with, but you can't do it with what you're, with
We'll
where you're
we'll
gonna
have to
put
be
that money.
discussing this again and do another ordinance or, you know,
All
write
right.
another, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So-
say we go
So
7.
8,
7.
8, that's what we're saying, 8?
7.
Okay. 750, it sounds like 750. Sounds like 750. So look, here's the other thing. I haven't had full discussions with Juan from Pluserbia yet, right? I still have not surprised the mayor with, I'm gonna be requesting that Pluserbia come and do a presentation at the full council meeting
No
this
problem.
month. I'll be sending that to you here in the next day or two. But I think,
For what you want, Vice Mayor Urban, if it's
Yeah.
in reserves,
Yeah.
it's better.
Okay.
Like you can get
All right.
more of what you want. So I think if we do 700,000,
Mm-hmm.
let's do 700,000.
That was my first thought back in March when I
750,
found out about
750.
this money and all
Okay,
of that.
I'm good with 750.
750.
750. I think 700 would
Come
be.
on.
I was at
Let's do
1.1. I was
700.
at 1.1 5 minutes
All right,
ago.
let's do this. Let's do 750. But when the tax rolls come in, the council, can the council vote on what to do with the tax rolls? Either put it
Yes.
in reserve or let's do that.
Yes,
So then, okay, so we'll do
Absolutely.
that because if we have
If we say
if we have-
750 and Cavista gets to completion, right?
yeah,
Then what you're proposing is the 750 will already be there.
Yeah.
There won't be a need to top off
No.
because we've said 750 and
and
it's
nobody
there,
bothers
right?
it. Nobody touches it.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think so to me, what this represents is the first, okay, this development fee pot reserved for parks and green spaces, to me, represents the first of several other pots we need.
Right.
So I'm 100% okay with using the new revenue that's generated from the Cavista taxes once they get that thing, the occupancy, right?
Yeah.
And then the taxes start generating. You know, from that point, I'm very comfortable leaving it to the council to say, okay, which pots is that money gonna go into? Absolutely,
Perfect.
absolutely.
All right, so all I need you guys is a motion. Then I'll open it up for the audience if anybody wants to say something. All I need you guys is a motion to keep our development fees at $750,000 and to take $400,000, $350,000 and put it in the reserve, the general fund reserve. I just need that motion and that second. And then this will be a 2-reading ordinance at 2 full council meetings before it officially takes.
Was there anybody who wanted to?
Yeah, I'm going to, I just need the, let me.
Oh, you need the motion so we can have a
let me get
discussion.
Yeah, let me get the
Gotcha.
motion in a second.
All right, 1 second.
As a matter of fact, while you guys are doing that, you can, anybody want to come up and say something? Just come up and say your name and address for the record, and then we'll do the motion.
Okay.
No problem.
My name is Velvet Connolly. My address is 355 Northeast 87th Street. I don't say Miami, Florida. Okay. So I had a couple of questions, because I think what you're originally talking about, right, is the pervious and impervious ratio of the concrete to the green space, right? And if you, I'm curious, I don't know how the politics side works, right? But like as a business person, right, it's like whatever you can negotiate into the contract, right? So is there a reason that we couldn't have that to also be a stipulation as far as a ratio of if you bring certain number of people into the community, then you need to also finance a certain number of police officers associated with that?
So what you're talking about is impact fees. So the manager, we were trying to go for impact fees. The former council that was kind of up here, they didn't, through the negotiation and things like that, the impact fees was not focused on. And so we lost out on that opportunity. I was bringing that, when I first took office, I've been bringing up the impact fee
Yes.
situation.
And if I may speak
Yeah.
about the impact fees, the village of El Portal does not collect impact fees. Why, I do not know.
No, yeah.
But that is something that we can look at and perhaps change. But as, when this negotiation happened, we weren't collecting impact fees, so we had to look for other things. And so the developers' fees were instituted because of the green space requirement. Now, it was the former village attorney who went out and got the quotes for the, or the estimates for the property. If we bought 2 lots, it would be the $800,000. So we were able to get the $800,000 in developers' fees, and then the additional, I mean,
Now,
we did ask for a lot more
The
than
manager will tell you that we've been on those emails about impact. When I first came in, it blew my mind. When we first started having these meetings, these Zoom meetings and these conference calls, it blew my mind about the lack of like we don't collect impact fees. It blew my mind, and that's when I started to think about doing this, because I was like, we have to find a way to operate the village. But you're absolutely right. For some reason, before I was mayor, they didn't do the impact fees.
Yeah, it
And
seems like
it's
there's a
big,
lot of fees that you guys are not collecting.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
No, it's huge.
Well, this is
We
huge.
agree 100%.
And we did, I worked with the group Tischler Bice, who had done a study of El Portal a few years ago, and they said it's going to impact your police because you're adding 300 people or 600 people to your.
Yeah, that's a lot of
But not
people.
just before before those people move there, we still have construction in an area that has no real coverage. It also impacts the roads, the village signage, so many things, and services. So there's more to it than just police and, I mean, it's public works and a
You're
whole
preaching
lot
to
of
the
other
you're preaching
things.
to the choir. Me and the manager were so like, it's been frustrating. And
Can I ask a question about that? As far as if it's not able to be collected as an impact fee where it directly goes to the police department, could there be a requirement that they have to provide security staffing in their own facility that's basically their private security, but that there is that requirement in place that they have to have security on staff from certain hours. If our coverage is short at night, then maybe that's the requirement, that they have security at night, and then that's a way to shift it back to them without it going through the bureaucracy of the police department.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, actually, it's a rental community. I assume they're gonna have, security and all of that, but in their contract or agreement, part of the money is providing policing, right? Which their agreement is not it wasn't what the ordinance was written. It was strictly for green space, but because that's what a few residents wanted, and I guess the council that was sitting here, that's what they wanted.
Right.
But yes, definitely adding over 600 people, we're gonna need more than 2 police officers. And being that we only have that one road to actually communicate with that side of El Portal is critical. But yes, part of those funds, from them, it was to provide at least a police officer, right? We
Well,
needed an
they-
extra one regardless.
I don't believe that they really, they're paying, this was negotiated. I don't think they're saying, well, it can only be used for this. This is
Right.
what the village decided to use these funds for in terms of the way the fund was structured.
Yeah.
So that, the contract is done with them. They already
Yeah.
provided their part of it.
I see.
Yeah, so they provided the 1.1 million, so they provided their part because of, you know, through the negotiation.
But then because they are in an annexed part of El Portal, we can't say, no, we won't respond to
Yeah.
Right.
issues. Right, we can't deny them
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
And so we must provide.
And I'm with you,
Yeah.
$1.1 million wasn't enough for me. I think it
Yeah,
was,
that's
especially when
astronomical,
we,
that they're
was-
bringing 600
especially
people?
when
We weren't in on.
when they got an extra bonus, two stories. They added another 20-something
That's the
units.
reason why I'm trying to fix it as much as I can right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do what I can to fix it right now, so.
Yeah. Okay, and I think I only just had one other question about, because it's about the project, right? The questions right now are about the Cavista.
Yes.
Okay. My other question was, oh, because you guys were talking about the tax revenue that would come in. Is there any retail associated with this project? Is it mixed use or it's just fully
Mixed use.
residential?
Yes, it's gonna
Yes,
have. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Well, yes, it's supposed to be mixed use. Offices, that's what I was gonna say. So, but we're not talking about like humongous retail or
Right.
but office, yeah.
Because I know last time you guys were saying that you don't collect a business tax, and that was one of the questions I came today to understand why we don't have a business tax.
I mean, we don't have any, well, what do we have? I mean, the only thing we have is we do, but we just don't have, like, we
We don't
collect,
have many
businesses,
but
that's the
we do
problem.
collect a business
Yeah.
tax,
Business
you know,
tax.
it's a business
because I'm
tax.
thinking, because Claudia's doesn't pay, because
No,
she's,
$52 per year.
52, because she's a school.
See,
so,
per year, yeah.
Most, yeah, that's most of
Yeah.
our, we don't have big enough
That's the
businesses, so
problem,
they're small
yeah.
mom and pop businesses, and they're, the usual amount is about $52 a year.
That's the
And that was
problem.
increased about 2 years ago
Yeah.
from.
And that's fine, I mean,
That's the problem. And that's why when you said, like, is it gonna be mixed
The-
use, I was like, nah, like, it's gonna be, you know what I mean? But for what it's gonna be, it's gonna be the most. I mean, because you heard we were talking about the $200,000. But as far as the huge amount of business tax, the way I think you were thinking about, as far as what mixed use would be, like if you think about like mixed use, like Midtown mixed use or something, it's not gonna be on
I
that
think
scale. So
we saw about 4 units to be used,
Yeah.
and they would be
Right.
the ground units, 2 to 4 units for
So-
business. but
But
it would be
yeah, what
office.
we're most anticipating is a septic to sewer that allows us to develop Northeast Second Avenue more commercially, which would increase, the business presence, the commercial presence in El Portal. And there's restrictions already on what people could, build there in terms of height and things like this. But that's really, I think, what's consistently be seen as what's holding us back from developing a little more commercially is needing septic to sewer to take place specifically along Northeast Second Avenue.
So just to be clear, the businesses that are there now are not a part of El Portal on Second Avenue?
Second Avenue here.
No, not Biscayne, because I think that's Miami Shores, isn't it? Biscayne, I mean the Second Avenue, the Citadel and all that stuff.
No, that's not part of it.
Once you
That's
cross
not-
the bridge,
no.
you're out of El Portal.
yeah, once you cross
Oh.
the bridge,
Yeah.
we stay.
Oh, I see, so when you come over here, there's nothing.
Right.
Oh, got it.
Until you hit, 94th up there by the,
Right, which is Miami Shores.
which is Miami Shores, yep.
Mhm.
So we do have a lot of businesses along Northeast Second, you just don't notice them because they look like houses, and then they are essentially office-based businesses.
Mhm.
So law firms, insurance companies, a couple doctors' offices.
Mhm. But if you switch over to the sewer system, you can be able to build up your corridor.
People could essentially have access to higher occupancy.
That's right.
Yeah, because of the need for washrooms and things like that. So the higher occupancy is what would allow people to have different business models other than office.
And is that something that is held up by something on our side, or is it something with the Miami-Dade?
It's a huge project
Yeah.
going on, yeah.
So when we're in the planning stage of septic to sewer and then construction phase after that, right? And so we've barely got funding for planning stage figured out, and then we have to figure out funding for construction stage. And when construction stage begins, it will be an outrageous disruption to the community because whatever section they're working on in that phase, I mean, streets will be torn up, dug up. In theory, we'll have to create some sort of program or initiative where residents have an opportunity to coordinate, hooking up with this system while all that's going on. Otherwise, we're going to have 2-3 years of sections of street torn up, people's yards torn up because they're trying to connect to the system. This has to happen whether we want it to or not anyway, because all of the data from sea level rise is saying that our septic systems are essentially already obsolete. So, because of the water table. So it's a critical issue for a lot of reasons, but septic to sewer has been, I've only been in El Portal for 7 years, and I think it predates my presence here for sure, septic to sewer at least. And then the Florida Keys is kind of who we'll look to see how different municipalities in the Keys did it, because the Keys essentially the past 20 years have gone through this where the water table has required them to figure out a way to get everybody on sewer. But the Keys is a very isolated type of environment, so there's a lot of unique challenges down there. So I think if we have the opportunity to see what some municipalities did successfully with their septic to sewer in the Keys, that we'll have a kind of a good format for how to pull it off here. But we're not the only municipality that needs to switch from septic to sewer, but it is absolutely one of the biggest things looming over us, and not the least of which is because we'd like to see the ability to develop some more different commercial properties, instead of strictly office space. So, in a nutshell, there you go.
I appreciate it.
Is that more than everybody wanted to know?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. I hope you're gonna run. Hope you're running. Oh man. we need
Do you have an appointment with you?
She doesn't have an appointment with her. Oh darn. We'd love to see you up here. All right, you guys. So all I need now, I just need a motion to have the development fees be $750,000 and to have $350,000 go into the general fund reserves.
I'll make the motion to move the Cavista, part of the Cavista funds to the reserve, 350, and keep 750 on the Cavista, on the green space funds.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Have a motion by Councilperson Perrella. Have a second by Vice Mayor Urbom. I'm going to need a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Again, you guys, this is going to be an ordinance. I'll write it up with Attorney Geller for the meeting, and it had to be 2 meetings because it's an ordinance, you guys. Two full council meetings, okay? Thank you very much, you guys. I think you guys did a great service for our community tonight by making this first step. We have 2 more to get through, though. All right, it's not done yet. H3, the reviews of the roles and responsibilities. All right, you guys, policies and procedures. So I sent you guys a manual. Okay, this is I didn't send you guys a manual to even like really discuss it or go over it. So this was passed through committee a long time ago. So this manual was passed through me maybe like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So the village manager put it together. It was passed through the Administration and Finance Committee like a year and a half ago. It was supposed to go to full council but it just would get forgotten about. Like it just never made it to the full council agenda. It's pretty straightforward. It's policies and procedures of the employees of El Portal. It has nothing to do with like us really or anything like that. It's more for like new hires. It's more for like, you know, hires and things like that.
Yeah, it's a handbook.
It's a handbook. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a handbook. And we never had one, so we were trying to, you know, put things in order as far as
I do have a couple of questions.
okay, as far as getting no
as far
problem. As far as getting things
The-
together, you know, like any business has a handbook, so we were trying to do that. But go ahead, Councilperson Pereira.
Yeah, no, and mostly it's about, you know, like the holidays and all of that. Are those holidays required, is that by government mandates?
Yeah, those are government holidays. We follow Miami-Dade County government holidays. We get the
The
schedule. from
annual
them and-
leave and sick leave,
Yes.
and then having sick leave, days not used, sick convert into a annual leave? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
this is all according to other municipalities in the Miami-Dade County.
Now, the only issue I see with all the accumulations of days is like in the situation that we are now, that we were like, you know, if people's not getting their days and then we have the lump sum, seems it's huge for us to pay out. So, and many companies, what they do, they cannot accumulate more than 120 hours. You know, they have to take the hours or, you know, either by, and
Use
not
or lose.
accumulate, you know, certain amount of, you know, it will be less for if they decide to
I'm
Yeah.
for that. I am, but I would, then I would have to get with our attorney to then
Right.
process that with, you know, the state of Florida labor and employment laws, because, I mean, we would be changing it midstream. So let me ask about that, because I hear what you're saying and I agree, but I can't
Right.
change it on people without consulting our
Right.
employment legal.
And, okay,
Mhm,
good,
counsel.
good. And also on the public staffers,
Job description.
form, not job description, yeah, but the salary, it says 35,000. It's actually
Well,
at
then I can-
31.
yeah, I'll
That has
change
to be
that.
changed.
Mhm, we can
And,
change it.
yeah, because that's for future, you know,
Yes.
or
that's a
potential
starting point.
employees, right?
Right.
They see on the form that it's 35,000, what in reality, that's not what we paid.
Yeah,
So that has to be changed as
Okay.
well, changed as well.
I will change this.
Yeah, and, yeah, no, that's, okay, and the code enforcement officer, you just hire the public officer, and then on the form it says 38,000, but we actually raised it to 40,000, right?
Yes.
So it will have to stay at 40,000 from now on? It has to be changed on the form? Is it something that's, I don't know. if
I
it's
don't
some-
know, it doesn't have to.
Oh, okay,
It can, it also depends on the person, I would think. These are pretty much starting salaries from my
oh,
vantage
okay,
point.
got it.
So for that one, I would leave that, but in terms of the public works, you're correct, I would change that back to the 31 that we discussed and agreed upon.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
I'll, over the next couple months, go through the 123 pages and see what I might want to annotate or make note on, but for now, I'm glad to have this in one spot. And
Yes,
Yeah.
we've had it for a while. When I first started here and saw that there was no manual, I think the former village manager, Roseman, was trying to put something together, but it was just a skeleton. And my own legal background, I knew that we needed to have some kind of policies and procedures because, we weren't doing evaluations, we
course.
weren't doing things, no job descriptions. So at that time, we had an HR coordinator, Marjorie Tapia, who worked with me, on every job description. We went through every evaluation. We went through every policy procedure. We borrowed from other municipalities. We contacted other HR professionals nationwide to just get the best fit for us. And so we came up with the manual. And it was presented to the committee, and I'd hoped it would move forward, but we never did get any traction on it. However, I have been training staff on this. Every new hire gets the training on it. as well as this is how I conduct all disciplines, all evaluations. It's all here in the handbook, so it's enumerated. There are no surprises. And, sometimes people say they don't know that they were supposed to call or what have you. They do know. It's in the handbook, and they've been trained. So
Perfect.
this is our guide, and we've been utilizing it. And, if you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Obviously, large documents are always open for revision from time to time, but this is my latest version from December 2020.
And I'm sorry, and what we do in my store, like every new employee that if I get a new employee, it's actually to sign the acknowledgement of the book that was written, and, that's what they know, and they know they have to call.
Yes, that's right. That's
So,
right.
yeah.
No,
Good,
thank you.
good.
And so this was, like I said, this was passed through committee. What we could do is the changes that, were suggested, we could look into, and then we could look to put it either February or March full council meeting.
You want to? Okay.
So I'll put it in my.
Well, I could have it ready by next council meeting.
Okay, all right.
They're small changes, right?
Right,
All right, it's simple changes. So, but I know you said you had to talk to the attorney also.
Well, that will just take a phone call.
All right, okay,
I
all
can
right.
have it by
So just let me know. I mean, if it can go on January full council, we'll
I would
put it.
like to
This,
move on.
this is a good benefit of having the committee meetings first and second week. So we have that extra week before the full council meeting. So to get things done. And those things are good also. I remember when I first, just very quickly, when I first started, it's good for us, as council members to kind of know the role of those who work inside the administration also. I remember when I first, not when I first started, I remember when Madam Manager, I've been here for like 12 years. I remember when Madam Manager first started, well, kind of like when she first started, and I went in the room, and it was a Wednesday, so a lot of police officers were here. And I went in the room, and I had a meeting with the police officers. And I was like, man, I'm like council president, vice mayor. I'm just having a meeting with the police officers and things like that. And then look at the clerk right there shaking her head. I was just looking at the vice mayor's having a meeting with the police officers. And then I was about to walk out, and Christia said, Vice Mayor, can I come talk to you? I said, yes. Put me in her office. She said, I appreciate you having, being concerned about, the individuals, in the administration. She was like, but the police department falls underneath the manager. She was like, so, next time you could kind of just let me know you're about to have a meeting with my employees. I said, okay, all right. Manager Lou don't play, But so I'm just saying to say that it's good to know those type of things. It's good to know that, we can't supersede the manager and go to the public works person, and be like, this and that without, keeping the manager in loop and telling the manager and asking the manager, hey, I want to have a meeting with the public works guy or the code enforcement or this or that. Things like that, and things like knowing the manager, she can spend up to $5,000 without asking us, but still give us the courteous, be courteous enough to tell us, what she's going to do, what she has in mind, and things like that. So it's good to just know those type of things so that we all know what's going on. That's all.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
But thank you very much, Madam Manager. Anybody else? Anybody from the audience have any questions about the policies and procedures handbook? We good? All right. So we'll try to get that on full council meeting as soon as possible. You guys, it is almost 10 o'clock. I'm gonna go real fast over the tracking report. I'm just gonna say what we're gonna keep. You guys have a paper copy in front of you. You want a paper copy? Here you go. No problem, sister. I'm gonna go real fast anyway. All right, so if you look at this, where we at? Pull mine up on the computer. Give me a second. Track report. Okay. Here we go. All right, so if you look there, you guys, tonight, we're just gonna breeze through it. It's almost 10 o'clock. Pretty much, administration finance is pretty simple and straightforward, as far as like what we should keep and what we should, get rid of. I think I only saw like one thing we should get rid of. All right, so the millage rate, you guys, we always do millage. That's every year. Keep that. Budget workshop, we'll keep that. In March, we'll revisit exactly what day it is, right? But we keep the budget workshop. We do it every year. First budget hearing, we do it every year. Keep that. Final budget hearing, we do that every year. We're gonna keep that. Lobbying updates, we will have the lobbyists come in here and update. We had them at the last full council meeting. We will have them come back. That's a keep. We're gonna keep that. Review of the financials, that's the CFO, you guys. That's the review. All right, we're gonna keep that. Lien filing. We're gonna keep that. That's something that we keep on there. Do we have any? We don't have any like serious updates about that. We haven't had any magistrate or
No, not yet.
or anything like that. Not yet. Well, we getting on them. We're gonna make it. We're gonna improve our village. Make it look good. Make sure people are up to code. Employee manual. We just were going over that. Once we pass that through full council, that will be. It'll always be active, but once we pass it through full council, that'll be a completed thing. Time clock. I'd say we get rid of this. This was something that former council person Roman kind of came up with, and she said that she wanted to have a time clock for everybody that worked in Village Hall to clock in and clock out. I just don't think that's necessary. We have like 2 or 3 employees. We have what's the name that works at the front desk? The building clerk.
No, all the staff is salary.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was still going to say we only have 2 and 3. I was going to get there, but I was going to say we have with John. Is John?
Yeah, he's salary.
John. We have John. We have who else? John Christian.
Well, I think in the
And
more
who else was
the
there?
concern was more like knowing that everybody was working in their working hours. I guess I don't know because there was something again also going with the village clerk and making sure that everybody was actually clocked in and they're working because we don't know. I mean we are the managers and the lawyer and the clerks supervisors or
Yeah.
bosses, and we're never here, so we don't know whether they're working or not. So I guess that was one of her concerns probably.
No,
So
I
if it's
understand.
nothing, it has-
I understand,
Exactly.
but
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, that was probably, I don't know whether you're working or not, if you're here or if you're working, outside doing, it's,
no, I,
to me, it's irrelevant because
Yeah.
you have to do your job
So I guess-
regardless.
so
So,
I guess
and it
the
shows that you do, so.
go ahead.
So then I guess the question is to the manager, do you feel that we have a need for a time clock?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Right.
These are the employees that fall under the
Right.
administration. I know where the staff is, and also we're not hourly employees, so clocking in and clocking out is I know when we work from 8:30 to 4:30 every day, and sometimes a lot of times we work way past 4:30. So a time clock could then also bring us up for other wage and hour issues that I don't think we want to document.
Yeah. Yeah, and it says time clock for hourly staff, and everybody, mostly everybody's pretty much a salary. So that's kind of how it goes. So I'm going to remove that, and then you got to kind of be careful, you guys, especially when you have salary people and you're having them clock in and clock out. You want to look at morale and things like that. So, the mandatory training. So we were talking about training, all type of training. We were talking about that, and we were talking about the ethics training also. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just thinking about the trainings that we have to do. The EEOC training, we completed that, but is that something that because I remember we were discussing it, Madam Manager, we were talking about doing it it wasn't every year, it was every couple of years or every few years or something like that, the EEOC training?
Yeah, that training is not inexpensive. It is expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, I
But
remember.
we talked about doing it every 2 years.
Every 2 years, okay.
But what we did a training, and former councilperson Roman paid for it through her discretionary funds because we didn't have the funding for that kind of a training at that price point. But we did do the EEOC training with the use of her funds, and from that point on, we would continue to do it every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
We've since then found free trainings, and we do trainings all the time through Florida League of Cities and the insurance training. So we did a harassment or sexual harassment training
Yeah.
during the coronavirus. At the first couple
That's
of
good.
months, we did a series of free trainings. So I would say we have fulfilled all of these EEOC and
Yeah.
as well as workplace. I think it was workplace. Yeah, we did violence. We've done safety. We've done emergency training. So all kinds of trainings, and I'm always seeking opportunities or free opportunities for us to do trainings.
So would you say that this is something, because I remember when we put it on, we were just kind of like getting into like doing all this stuff, the policies and procedures, doing the trainings and things like that or whatever. So we were trying to make things better around here. Do you think, in your opinion, is it embedded within the culture and the mind that we can take it off of this, of the tracking report, or should we leave it on there just to see if we're current?
I think it is really embedded in the employee manual because it
Yeah.
really touches on the sexual harassment. There's, and the workplace safety and harassment and those types of things. A lot of that is already covered in that.
So take it off?
I would take it off.
Okay.
And you can ask, like in terms of employee manual, just ensure that there's always trainings and opportunities for staff. And I do that personally, but we could certainly come up with a program to ensure that staff gets annual trainings in harassment, workplace safety, and et cetera. And emergency preparedness, which we do also. So a number of trainings we do here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I see what you were saying, Councilperson Farrella. Thank you for that. So going back, number 5 is ethics workshop from the clerk. First of all, the ethics training after we got elected. You guys still have to do yours, right? Okay. And so if you see anything pop up, just okay. All right. So we'll and do it all together. Do it here. Okay. Yeah, I did mine. So we just need to get everybody else to do theirs. I did all 6. Yeah, I did all 6 in one sitting. On a Friday. I did all my 6 hours on a Friday. Yeah. So it's all good. They sent the village manager. They sent you, because she put it in my mailbox. Put a copy of my certificate in my mailbox. I'll get you a copy of that, Madam Clerk. Definitely. What else, Madam Clerk? I know that, and I already put it in my thing for the full council meeting. So I'm writing the canvassing board resolution because we didn't. So I didn't do that for the special election.
They contacted me already.
Okay.
We usually use Miami-Dade County.
Yes. Yes.
So they've already written, because our election time is so.
Yes.
they're
Yes.
gonna move in.
Yeah.
So the canvassing will be Miami-Dade, elections.
Okay.
They're coming out to find judges.
Okay.
To do that.
Okay.
The issue is there's a mail-in ballot for another special district or something on
Okay.
the same day.
Okay.
So they have 3 judges already assigned to that one.
Okay.
And right now, because of COVID, there's not a pile of people waiting to canvass.
Okay.
But she's gonna keep abreast.
All right.
We may need to do a resolution for a runoff,
Okay.
which I will know on Friday.
Okay.
If we're actually having an election.
Okay. Okay.
So, my communication with her is on Friday at noon.
Okay.
I will call them to say, I'll work with council to get you a resolution, or if we don't need a resolution, because we won't have an election, therefore we won't need a resolution.
Okay. And you'll know that by Friday?
On Friday noon, I'll know.
Okay. Friday noon.
We
Okay. Okay. All right. So far, does it look like we need an election?
It's really difficult
To tell? Okay.
because you have a number of people who are interested.
But they haven't come in or made the
So they've
appointment?
come in
Okay.
And they've gotten documents.
They haven't brought it back yet?
But some of them are now saying to me, I'm kind of on the fence. because
Okay.
I know so-and-so and so.
So Friday at noon, you'll know.
So Friday at noon.
I got you. Friday at noon, you'll know. Do we have, and I'm not asking anything that's crazy, but do we have at least so let's say, for example, let's say if we have 3 people coming in, all three are not going for just one seat, right? Like, it's spread out pretty even.
As
Okay,
of
okay,
now,
good.
Everybody who.
It's spread out pretty evenly.
Spread out pretty
Okay,
evenly.
good.
And if everybody who comes in, you will have an election.
Okay, I got you.
There was a possibility that one seat may go.
I got you.
With no election.
I got you.
One seat will have.
I got you. No problem. Thank you very much, Madam. Also, when elections are over, when we finished our election, termination TR reports. Do we have to? We have to.
I have to set up a schedule for them because I had one candidate who said he's going to raise money, so.
Okay.
I gotta set up a schedule and there will be TR. You guys, have you completed, cause it's 30 days afterwards that you need to, 90 days.
It's 90 days. Yeah.
90 days to do TR reports. If you raise money.
I didn't read. No, none of us. All of us ran on the post. So
I'll send you a waiver of report.
that's what I was gonna ask.
You fill out the waiver of report and
I love you, Madam Clerk. That's what I'm saying. See, I'm handing all the, you know what I mean? I got y'all covered, man. We go, you know what I'm saying? I don't want the people breathing down y'all neck and stuff, man. I'm trying to think about everything right now. This is what all these years of experience come. All right, so, no, you're good, you're good. No, you're good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, so back down to number 12. So the manager 90-day evaluation. This is just something that we had for when the manager was the interim manager. I mean, Madam Manager, how you doing, my brother? What's going on? How's the family? Good. Madam Manager, the manager 90-day evaluation, we had this on here from when you were interim manager. I mean, is this something that you think that we should keep on here? Or is it something that, I mean, because, yeah, we're way past 90 days, so I'm gonna get rid of it, Madam Manager. We do an annual evaluation. That should be on here, though. That's number 15. The manager PTO and leave. We're going to keep this on here, you guys, because this is something that remember, we just did it for the manager. But this is something that, you know, because PTO and stuff, it will accrue again. So we'll keep this on here. It's going to be something we'll have to revisit in the future, I think. The clerks. So I'm going to keep all the annual evaluations, you guys. The village council meetings resolution. This was a resolution that Attorney Powell and Councilperson Roman were bringing up. I have the resolution because I just had it in my notes because we were on the Administration and Finance Committee, and they were trying to bring it to full council.
Is this one about attendance?
It was two, right? It was one about attendance. It was three. It was one about attendance, one about the staggered terms, and one about the vacancies. Yeah, it was three of them. Yeah, it was three of them. Oh, it was actually four, and then there was also one that they were trying to put through about the meeting procedures.
On that one, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
There were some things on there that we were trying to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna redo it and I'll give it to you guys, and then you can do whatever you want to do.
Okay. We'll bring it back through committee because I would like to look at it because I remember the first time, prior to some of the stuff that you want to take, I remember the first time I looked at it, I was like, yeah, exactly, Madam Clerk. So it was getting too far in the weeds. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I felt about it. So that will be that. So we'll revisit that, you guys. The election qualification dates, that happens every 2 years because we have elections every 2 years. We'll just keep it on here. And I'll clean it up, I'll fix it up, and that'll be that. That's our tracking report.
On your
Yes.
election dates,
Yes.
I had a conversation with, 90 days election because of the way the charter reads, the 90 days afterwards.
Yes.
And she informed me, which I was the state has already passed a rule that you can go outside of your 90 days when necessary for Miami-Dade County, because they're like jumping through hoops for this one.
Yeah.
So in the future, we'll just know.
Okay.
A notification that instead of 90 days, you may want to go 120 days.
Okay.
For purposes of advertising.
I got you.
Getting qualified.
Okay.
and all that kind of stuff, not all.
Okay. So what we'll do if we ever had it in the future, thank you, Madam Clerk. So what we'll do if we ever had it in the future, in the resolution,
Say by law.
we could say, yeah,
Do a resolution.
yeah.
Change the date of your election.
Yeah, we can do, okay, for sure. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, appreciate that. All right, you guys, that's the tracking report. Is there any questions about the tracking report? Any questions up here about the tracking report? You guys are good? All right, you guys, so may I have, where we at? Tracking report, we're just going, no unfinished business, no general orders. We have unfinished business, anything unfinished you guys want to talk about? You good, Vice Mayor? We good? New business, anything new that pops in your head, anything pop in your head? Poof, No, we're good. Nothing popped in your head real quick. All right. Good and welfare. This is the time right now where anybody from the audience can come up and talk about anything at all. Doesn't have to be only on this agenda. Anything at all happening in the village, in the community, in the nation, whatever you want to say. Good and welfare. You can come up and talk about it. Just say your name and address for the record. Do we have anybody? Come on up. No, come on up, sister. Just say your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
My name is Velvet Connolly. My address is 355 Northeast 87th Street. And I've just been thinking a lot about the fact that you guys always say how the village doesn't have many profit centers or ways you make money. So I was thinking of just like a short list of ideas that could work for the way things are now. And you guys would know best if this is feasible or not. These are just thoughts, and maybe you think on it, and if you find anything, then you run with it. But I was thinking that you guys might be able to do like a farmer's market, having something weekly or bi-weekly where you maybe charge like a booth rent for people to come and sell their fresh produce in El Portal. You could also do a spice market, people that sell spices, or you could open it up for businesses, small businesses, to just be able to come and sell their product to the members of our community in Miami Shores. I also thought about you guys could maybe create a butterfly garden and charge admission because you already have like the natural elements. I thought about you could do walking tours, that you could have different topics. So it could be like bird watching, since we're a bird sanctuary. It could be history tours. It could be trees, where you could learn about the different types of trees. You could also do gardening classes, something outside. I know you guys were talking about before with the park, that it wasn't open and it was like a cleaning issue. But if you did something on the weekend, like a mommy and me class, that might bring in the revenue for you to afford somebody to clean the park, and then kind of be a common ground where at least the parents can say they use the park on the weekend, but it's like an organized activity. You're doing your social distancing, and it's just for that time, but at least they got to come to the park and they just pay some kind of fee for the activity. And I think I just have one more thing, hold on. And then I also thought maybe you might be able to organize like a running club, like with the nature trail, or like a cycling thing. I was just trying to think of like the social distancing, the COVID stuff, but stuff that you might be able to charge for that's outdoors and takes advantage of the nature.
Well, first of all, thank you. And don't think because I'm not typing everything down that I'm not, because it's all being recorded.
No,
I'm
I'm sure
gonna go back
you
and watch it.
sure,
So don't even worry about it. And we're gonna get minutes from it also, or whatever. But all those things were good. It's funny. It's not funny, but interesting, and funny in a way. Interesting because the farmers market and stuff we used to have right here. We used to have it right here, the farmers market. We used to have we used to have it right here in the parking lot where the antique shop is.
Oh, okay.
We used to have it on Saturday mornings, right? We haven't done it in a couple of years, but we used to have it. All right, so we used to have that. So that's a good thing. So that's the farmers and spice market. The thing, the art fair. We used to have the art fair. Yeah, the art fair. Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah. Yeah. And so after the spice market, you said
I had butterfly garden.
butterfly garden would be
Walking tours.
would be good. Oh, the walk-in tours. So the walk-in tours is funny. You mentioned the walk-in tours. The walk-in tours. Okay. So a little history lesson. So the Little River cleanup, you guys, Vice Mayor Urban, Councilperson Perella, the Little River cleanup came about because years ago I started this thing called the Little River Festival, and I started it, and so what we did. So back then there was this thing called which you guys would probably know about, the ALE committee. So the ALE committee was the women's club prior to the women's club. And so the ALE it stood for the Architectural, Landscaping, Environmental Committee. And so when I first became a council person, like over 12 years ago, when I first became a council person, we started it. It was me and residents. And it was Adam Old was part of it at one point, and residents that have moved out ever since. And so through the ALE committee, we said, you guys, let's do this thing called the Little River to celebrate the Little River. So we did this thing called the Little River Festival. It was 2 days. We used to have it in Horace Mann Field. I would have Audrey Edmondson donate the stage, covered stage, huge white covered stage. We have like people came in that did like drums and did like we had like organic things coming. We had people come out with exotic animals for the kids. We had that, and it was a 2-day thing. And then we would go through the river, and we had Native Americans serenade the river, and then we would clean the river, and then we did that for like 3 years in a row, and then what the hell happened? We did it for like 3 years in a row, and then it started to be like it was. Obama was gonna start leaving office, and then money starts to, when Obama left office, money for that type of stuff started to kind of like, environmental stuff started to dry up, and then so we just like changed the focus, and we just, the same thing we did to public affairs now, we like scaled it down, and it became a Little River cleanup instead of the Little River Festival for 2 days. It was a 2-day festival. We had bands and everything. So, and I was just thinking about that because part of it, the way it was that the first day, she's like, what does that have to do with me? For the first day, what we used to do is, first day it started right out here, and we had a bird watcher. It would start out here if you wanted to, because it was a list of events. And you could come if you wanted to come. You can go home. You can come back later in the afternoon. Like, it was a 2-day list of events. And it all started with 6 a.m. A bird watcher would walk people. You could meet him out here, and he would walk people through, and he would do the bird watching and stuff like that. And that was the first event of the first day of Saturday. It was a Saturday and Sunday event. It was a 2-day event. It was really nice.
Nice.
It
And
was really
now,
nice. So that made me think
with,
about that.
with the Citadel and, all the tourists that's coming to that area, it's
Yeah.
just across the Little River.
Yeah.
We could probably have more.
And we should do
You know.
historic walks too, because
Yeah.
and we did that one. I think the second year of the Little River Festival, we did the historic walks. We had Native Americans come out here and did like the history of the Indian Mound, history of just this whole area and how it was before it was developed, thousands of years ago. So so everything you said is so good, and everything you
I
said
just want to
is,
mention really fast, because I had in case if it was a concern with kids playing in the park, I
Yeah.
don't know if that was an issue, if you're like, we don't really want them playing. I had it as a mommy and me painting, like where they could just paint. So then it's like something, you're sitting in your spot, but you're still outside, you're using the park, you're with other people, but it's not like heavy interaction.
yeah.
So maybe you could do that.
Do me a favor, email me that list if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to get your email.
I'm gonna
I don't
get-
have it. Okay.
I'm gonna get we have a card. You can get. Oh, you have her. Okay, send it to her, and then she'll send it to me, so that because no, those are great ideas, and like I said, it's like write down the mind frame of stuff that we've done in the past. We just dropped the ball and stopped doing. So look at that. You should be up here.
I appreciate it.
As I said for like the third time.
I'll just keep coming to the
I
meetings.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. We appreciate the time and dedication that you give to us. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, you guys. I see no more good and welfare. Anybody else have any last remarks? Anything else you guys want to say before we're out of here? All right, seeing none. Shout out to Full Moon. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second them.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Urban, motion second by Councilperson Perella. The Administration and Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 12th is adjourned at 10:15 p.m. Thank you very much.